I promise you that this show isn't dedicated to stuff that Microsoft does on a daily basis. It just so happens that when I started the show, Microsoft also started to do a lot of things that are just disappointing and mediocre. And if the Windows Store and the Universal Windows platform weren't enough, now we have the possible closing of Lionhead Studios. It's not closed yet, but they're talking about it, and well, they cancelled Fable Legends, so there really isn't that much of a reason to keep Lionhead around anymore, since Microsoft can only make one game per studio. They've only made Fable with Lionhead for 10 years. 10 goddamn years of Fable. They've only made Halo with Bungie. They've made more than one game with Rare, but they all sucked. As you know, the old tongue twister, Rare rarely makes a good game nowadays. I'm not a big fan of the Fable series, and in no way of the new Fable Legends, mostly because it looks just like a rip-off of Dungeonland made by Critical Studios and published by Paradox in 2013. I also find it a bit strange that BioWare was also working on a similar game called Shadow Realm, and it was cancelled as well last year. Are AAA publishers afraid of this kind of game? That it may be too creative for them? Possibly, or maybe some focus group said that no, we don't like this kind of game, we want something with more action, something that doesn't require me to think. Give me more Call of Duty! Still, Fable Legends cancellation is a bit of a strange occurrence because Microsoft has up until this point had that, well, you know it, the get in the white van, yes, I have candy, come on, I know you want to, yes, you PC gamer, I know you want to get in that van kind of attitude again. With Fable Legends, they wanted to bring back, I think, if I'm not mistaken, cross-play between Xbox and the PC, which is something they had back with that old Shadowrun game that absolutely sucked, and where they absolutely gimped the mouse controls because they were better. And Fable Legends was also a DirectX 12 game. It was made from the ground up with DirectX 12 in mind, which I kinda doubted because I saw the benchmarks for it posted by PC Perspective a while ago, and the game showed no scaling on CPU cores, like none whatsoever. Yes, it had better performance from DirectX 11 to 12, but it ran just as fine on a dual core as it did on a quad core and an octa core. It made no difference, which is not something DirectX 12 kinda does. But then again, it was a free multiplayer game for which they promised to offer AAA level content, which they won't ever because let's face it, it was a bust from the get-go, but that's not important. That the game got cancelled, I really don't care. But what I do care about is Lionhead, because Lionhead made two games which I absolutely loved. Sure, they made the games back before Microsoft bought them out in 2006, and before Peter Molyneux went all Peter Molyneux, but that studio still made Black and White and the movies. Sure, there may have been a lot of hype behind Black and White and some see it as a failed cow simulator, but it was actually a really neat game. It was very creative, very interesting and charming. It still annoyed me to crap how the villagers, the followers, couldn't do anything on their own. You had to do everything for them, even get them to bump uglies. But at its core, it was a giant Tamagotchi game, but it was wonderfully made. And the movies is a tycoon like I don't see very often. Firstly, it's a tycoon, which in the current environment you don't actually see made well. You see mostly mobile style tycoons where you don't actually have a challenge, just a list of things you have to do in order to get more things to do. Today, at Enter 222. And the movies, not only did it have that economical component, that management component, but it also had an actual movie creator in it. You could make your own movies, you could set up the scenes, add props, characters, you could do a lot of stuff in it, and it was amazing. It was the kind of thing made for the YouTube age, basically before YouTube existed. It's also probably stuck in ownership hell somewhere because it was published by Activision, but the game is from Lionhead, which is a Microsoft studio, and you understand why it's not on Steam anymore. Well, there's also the issue of a link in the main menu that leads to a site that isn't there anymore, and I heard that's why it was taken off Steam. And because it was an Activision game, there were no fixes for this because Activision don't do fixes, and that's why you can't buy it anymore. But the core idea is that Lionhead was, at one time, a creative studio, a studio that brought me endless joy, just like Bullfrog was. And much like Bullfrog, it was devoured and bled dry by a semi-evil corporation. And also made a laughingstock because, remember Milo and Kate, that Kinect demo at E3, which was basically a big lie, after which Peter Molyneux kinda quit Microsoft altogether because why wouldn't he? I know I would. For me, it's still a sad event because there were probably still people there that wanted to make interesting games, that could make interesting games. But Microsoft isn't in the business of making interesting games. It's in the business of selling Xboxes and Windows. If it were in the business of actually supporting games, especially PC games, it would, I don't know, sell some of the games it had developed over the years and published. And I don't mean just HD versions of Age of Empires. I mean, remember Crimson Skies? The PC version, it was one of the best arcade air combat games I ever played. That game had style coming out of its ears. It was fabulous. Or the old MechWarrior games, which I think Microsoft owns. Again, I'm not sure because licensing is a bitch. But basically, Microsoft has all these great games which now don't do a thing, aren't sold anywhere. Because Microsoft doesn't give a shit about PC gaming. It just wants you to get in that white van, take the candy, pay no attention to the horse tranquilizer in it, and then it's none of your business what Microsoft does with you. Which again is a shame because I actually supported Windows 10 before it was released, before they more or less shoved it down everyone's throat in very, I'm not gonna say rapey methods, but Pepe Le Pew would be like, Mon Dieu, mon ami, slow down a bit, maybe ask their permission first. Bottom line is, Lionhead is now buggered. It's dead as a doornail that was blasted from space by an ion cannon. So here's to the memory of what Lionhead once was and now isn't. And technically hasn't been since, I guess, Fable 2. Thank you for all the memories. As for Microsoft itself, it continues to be just mediocre at best. If you enjoyed this show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Or, if you thought it was horrible, then share it with your enemies and make them suffer. We shall be your weapon of vengeance. But if you liked what you saw, you could, I don't know, maybe donate, because basically YouTube is horrible at revenue, by using the link in the description, or just buy my book. It's a fantasy book about, well, a lot of stuff. I guarantee it won't suck, and if it does suck, you can find me here and complain about it. Unlike some game developers, Ubisoft, I'll actually listen to your feedback.